It's 7:01, Madam Clerk.
This meeting is called to order. Roll call. Councilman Anderson,
Present.
Councilwoman Perone,
Present.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield.
Present. Present.
We will now have.
No, we got
I gave her that.
Proceed, Madam Clerk.
We will now have our prayer by our township manager, Mr. Dwayne Harris.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, as we gather here today for this Willingboro Council meeting, Lord, we humbly come before you seeking your guidance and wisdom. We ask for your presence to be with us through this session. Lord, we ask that you open our minds and illuminate our hearts. Grant us the strength to work together harmoniously for the betterment of our community. We thank you for the opportunity to serve, and we ask for your blessings upon this meeting so that all of these efforts lead to a brighter future for Willingboro. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, sir. We'll now stand for our flag salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act, this is to announce that adequate notice of this meeting was provided in the following manner. Advanced written notice of this meeting was posted on the bulletin board in the municipal complex and was mailed to the Burlington County Times, the Intelligencer, and the Courier Times. Advanced written notice of this meeting was filed with the township clerk. The clerk is directed to enter into the minutes of this meeting, this public announcement. Mayor.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It's good to see you tonight. Mr. Harris, we'll start with your updates.
Good morning, Mayor and Council member.
Good morning for tomorrow.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm ready to go for tomorrow. Woo-hoo! We are excited to be here this evening as we gather once again to take care of the business of Willingboro Township. Before we begin this evening, we're going to take pause and swear in two of our new upcoming police officers. I will ask Captain Bucks to come now and give us a little biography of who they are, and then we will swear that or administer their oath of office, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Again, thank you, guys. I appreciate the opportunity tonight to introduce two of our newest police officers. So on this past Thursday, September 14th, Officer Nelson and Officer Burhan graduated the Camden County Police Academy. They attended 21 weeks at the academy, which consisted of, criminal law, defensive tactics, firearms, practical scenarios, and they successfully graduated the police academy. Monday, they started our FTO program, which is our Field Training Officer program, which is 14 weeks of training where there will be 4 different phases where they'll be with senior officers. And at the completion of that 14 weeks, they will be assigned to the patrol division. So at this time, if I could ask Officer Nelson and Officer Burhan to please step forward for your oath of office. And if you have any family members that are here, they could stand behind you if they so choose.
Come on, family. First off, I'd just like to say on behalf of council, welcome and congratulations. This is a big achievement. We have a great force here. So I know you will add to that, and we really appreciate you coming to Willingboro. Thank you. All right, we'll start the oath of office. You'll say your name. I say your name.
Raise the right hand.
Yes, go ahead.
There's a raised hand.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. All right, you repeat after me. I say your name.
I, Burhan Farman,
You solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey.
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
That I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same
and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people,
And I will faithfully,
and I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of the office of police officer
on all the duties of the office of police officer
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. And Captain, you sure that nobody wants to pin it on their loved one? I think we should do that.
Part of the tradition that we started is that one of the loved ones would pin the badge on the officer, or both officers for life. So,
You passed the hard part already.
you know,
I think
so-
family pin there.
No, we'll do it this way. And, if the officer could face the audience, yes, step in front of your loved one, and just simulate like. Officer Nelson, Officer Norris, pinned on Officer Detective Norris pinned on Officer Nelson's badge at the police academy. He struggled. He was, nerves got him, he was up there trying to yell, and she was nervous, she poked me like 3 times.
But congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. Mr. Harris, you can continue.
Thank you, Mayor. So things have been kind of quiet in Willingboro over since the last time we met, so I really don't have too much additionally to report. I will state that tax revenues so far received, Willingboro is 83% of our total revenue anticipated for the township as of August 31st, which is a really excellent number at this point of the year. And we are at 64% of our total cash appropriations in the budget having been expended, which is another really good number. So I know that all of our directors are watching their spending as we round into the fourth quarter of 2023. I did just want to mention that as you were aware, the road construction project on Balford and Blueberry Lanes was originally scheduled to begin on September the 11th, but that has been postponed until the 25th, and that should be a 30-day project, which is a full mill and overlay. And we will be having our pre-construction meeting for the JFK Theater this Friday. And that has been a long time coming, and it's very exciting that we're approaching the commencement of this wonderful, wonderful addition to Willingboro. The council in the past has requested a few project updates and some different things that we are doing in my office to kind of help keep Willingboro on track. So I have my very capable staff, Ms. Ivy Carmichael, Mr. Gary Laurie, and Ms. Tanya Jackson, who are going to come and just give very brief project updates to you and demonstrations. We're going to start off with Ms. Carmichael, I believe, who is going to share with you a program that we're using called ClearPoint. And that is a program that we are utilizing with our directors as they go forth and do their planning, their planning for the year and how those plans integrate with the strategic plan that was outlined by the council. So I'll give Ms. Carmichael an opportunity to just show how we use this very extensive program.
Good evening. How are you? So one of the programs that we use to keep track of how we do it all, we know what's going on in the township is this program called ClearPoint Strategy, and it allows us to help make sure that the numbers from all of the departments are in line with what the strategic plan is for the township. I'm gonna log in here really quickly, sorry.
Make sure your logins are ready.
It is. One moment, sorry. Okay, here we go. There we go. Okay. Should be loading. Okay. It's not loading. One moment, I'll try it again. Try one more time. Okay. Yeah, I'll try and then I'll come back.
And we'll go on to Mr. Laurie and Ms. Jackson. There is another suite of programs that we use called Monday.com. We use those for marketing, our daily work management and our projects management. So Mr. Laurie is going to come at this time.
Greetings all. Mayor, join us panelists. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council, members of the public. I'll be sharing with you what we use to keep track of a lot of the projects that we have here in Willingboro. This is a little more than we expected in terms of sharing. So Monday.com is one of the platforms that we use to keep track of our, project management and things of that nature. And as much as I want to share, it's not showing what I need to show. So Monday.com is our work management platform.
So we'll hold off, and if it's okay with the council, we'll come back at the next meeting so you can actually see what it is that we are,
Works for
and
me.
we'll make sure that we have our logins and stuff ready to go for the next meeting. My apologies. We'll continue? Okay, so we'll go through the resolutions in.
Before that, can you just give the public an update on some of the things that you've been working on with the roads, potholes, and some of the state and county roads that you have been having, conversation and working diligently on throughout the weeks?
Yes, so we are working through our major road project for 2024. It's a $3.7 million road project when we're actually going to go through and repair the 12 worst rated roads in Willingboro. We are approaching the final engineering phases for that project. We have gone through all of the state and approvals, and financing has been in place through the New Jersey iBank. So we are again at the point where really we're almost ready to go out to bid. We hope to have that project out to bid, awarded in early 2024 and commence as soon as the weather turns nice in 2024. Many of you may have noticed some of the streets have been relined along JFK Boulevard and MLK Boulevard. As we go to improve the infrastructure in Willingboro, there have been some questions or issues related to the potholes around the Walgreens. There's been some very serious flooding issues on 130 and Veterans Parkway, and again at 130 and Van Skyver. We have reached out to the state, expressing our desire for them to do something about that, and they have responded to the affirmative. And they are sending out their teams to investigate and come up with a game plan. So we hope to have that underway at some point in the very near future. We have also reached out to the county about installing a traffic light on Beverly Rancocas Road and Windsor Lane. There's just been a lot of accidents there. And again, the county has agreed to come in and investigate that location also to consider installing a traffic light at that location. So we are trying to be very responsive to the needs of Willingboro and the concerns and the requests of the residents. Our hot patcher is in and it's road ready. So we are going to go out and get our first loads of blacktop. And I know our DPW, acting DPW, Marvin Harris, has the DPW on a regular pothole routine where they will routinely go around. It's not every day of the week, but they will go around and be addressing some of the pothole issues throughout the township. They have also been going out and addressing some of the sidewalk issues in the township. And we are again preparing a list is being engineered, and we hope to go out to bid sometime in the next couple of weeks to probably do that as well in very early 2024. So I just want everybody to know that, we know that some of the issues have been a long time, but I do assure you that we are being as responsive and as quickly responding to these issues as we can.
Thank you. Is any other, Councilwoman Devine? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Harris, for that. My question's relating to the Kennedy Plaza, their parking lot, the lines have been missing and for a long time now. Does our departments go out to site things like that as far as the lines that are faded? The handicap lines are missing, the markings, and there are some potholes in the parking lot as well.
Yeah, so those are things that we can address as well.
Mhm.
We do have the equipment to do some of those striping issues, so we'll look at that and see if and when we can get it taken care of.
Oh, is that something that we put down? We put the paint down?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought it was on the property owners. Responsible.
Plaza? Not the
Oh.
Plaza.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
like,
oh.
you do that? I was
No,
like.
no. the-
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right,
there.
across the street. I'm sorry, the Kennedy Plaza, right where Little Caesars is and the Dollar Tree, that shopping area.
No, that's up to those property owners to
Right.
maintain those properties, but we can talk to them about taking care of those
Well,
situations.
that's what I mean, like aside from talking to them, like see how we go out and we give out citations for the residents if the grass is not cut or things like that. Who's giving out citations for your street, their parking lines are
Well,
gone?
that would be an inspections function.
Okay,
So I'm not sure right off the top of my head what the code standard is for parking lot maintenance. But Mr. Tunsil will go out and look at it and deal with
Okay.
it accordingly.
oh, you did? Okay. All right, so if we can, thank you. We can follow up on that. And then the last question was, do we have any update on the old Grand Marketplace as far as what they're doing with that property?
I believe that's part of your discussion this
Okay.
evening.
No, but.
No?
Well,
I was just,
nothing, yeah, nothing.
Then no,
okay,
no.
okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Anything, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Harris, for your update. I had two notes on the road condition portion.
Mhm.
few meetings ago, we did have a number of residents come from the Millbrook section on Moss Hill
Mhm.
and surrounding streets. Do you know when the pothole repair will begin? I just would like to have a firmer date because I know they've been waiting to hear about that.
So the DPW is very clear that my desire is that would be street number 1 that they begin. So as soon as they get that, that's where they will begin. So I don't know exactly when in the schedule they're scheduled to go out and do that, but that will be the first street that they begin to work on. So it should be within the next 2 weeks.
Okay. That works. Thank you. And then as you're having the county look at the traffic light at Windsor Lane and Beverly Rancocas Road, we had also talked previously about a walk signal at the intersection where Willingboro Lakes Park is. That's been a safety concern for some time, and while they're looking at locations, it would be great if they can take a look at that one as well.
Yes, we have communicated with them about that, and I believe they were willing to install a walk thing there. But they have yet to tell us what our share of the cost would be. So I will follow up with them and see where we are with that.
Yeah, it shouldn't be anything.
Oh,
It's their park. It's their road.
Anything else from any other council member? Okay, you can proceed, Mr. Harris.
yes, thank you, Mayor. So the items being presented for your consideration this evening, we're going to have a public hearing and final reading on ordinance number 2023-16, which is an ordinance amending ordinance 2023-4, modifying the standards for the Divine Nine Park Bench Donation Program that was passed earlier this year. Next is ordinance number 2023-17, which replaces ordinance number 2023-10, which is a bond ordinance providing for the roadway project in Willingboro Township and appropriating not to exceed $3.75 million for that project. Ordinance number 2023-18 replaces ordinance 2023-11, which is another bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements, appropriating $1,778,210 in notes for just various projects throughout the township. Ordinance 2023-19 is replacing ordinance 2023-11, which is a bond ordinance, again, providing for various capital improvements in the township and appropriating $3 million for those improvements. Most of these ordinances needed some minor adjustments as we prepare to go out to permanent financing. And our bond counsel asked that we just redo them again to just clean up some little indiscrepancies. So that's why they are replacing previously adopted ordinances. It doesn't affect, this is not new funding, and it doesn't affect any of the previous financing. Resolutions being presented is resolution number 2023-211, which is a chapter 159, which is adding additional items of revenue to our budget to offset appropriations, and that was a $25,000 stormwater assistant grant that was received by the township. This is a grant that is being used specifically for mapping out our stormwater system. Resolution number 2023-212 is a resolution to renew our membership and authorize the township manager to execute the indemnity and trust agreement for our membership in the Southern New Jersey Regional Employee Benefits Fund. This was a fund that was, the Southern New Jersey Health Insurance Fund used to be the prior health insurer for the township before they transferred into the state health benefits program. There were some retirees that retained their dental benefits through that fund, and we have to remain a member of the fund for them to continue to participate in that fund and receive their dental benefits. So this doesn't actually cost us anything because we get reimbursed 100% by I believe there's 6 participants in that fund. So it's just us being on board so they can continue to maintain their dental benefits. Resolution number 2023-213 is a resolution authorizing the ratification of the accessor agreement between the Township of Willingboro and the Law Enforcement Supervisors Association, known as LISA. We and LISA had negotiated a proposed contract for the period of January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2028. The terms of which contain provisions respect to their compensation and other conditions of employment. And we just ask that you just approve and ratify that contract agreement. Resolution number 2023-14 on the agenda is a duplicate of 2023-213. So we're going to go on to 2023-215, which is a rejection of bids for multi-location stormwater infrastructure repairs. We did go out to bid for 3 locations in the township. The bids came back substantially higher than what our engineers anticipated costs for those projects were and what we had allocated in our budget. So we're going to ask that you reject those bids, and then we will go out and rebid them again. Resolution number 2023-216 is the resolution authorizing the overpayment of taxes, which is pretty standard for homeowners who either duplicated or received some type of veterans deduction or senior deduction. Resolution number 2023-217 is a resolution of the governing body certifying the annual audit. This was the audit prepared for 2022. It's just saying that you have received it and have familiarized yourselves with it at the very least. The minimum requirements of the local finance board is that you review the findings and determinations. Resolution number 2023-218 is a resolution approving the bills list and the ratification of the same for September 2023. And I believe those are all of the items that we are being considered this evening. Resolution number 2023-219, again, is a duplicate of resolution 2023-218. So that's not being presented for consideration.
217.
I'm sorry. Yes. 217, yes. So those are all of the items that are being presented for your consideration this evening.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Harris. We'll start with public comment for agenda items only. If anyone has any public comment for anything that's on this agenda, you have 2 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record. Anyone for public comment? Host, is there anyone online?
Not at this time, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, public comment for agenda items only is now closed. Madam Clerk?
Ordinance 2023-16, this is public hearing. Ordinance amending ordinance number 2023-4, modifying standards for the Divine Nine Park Bench Donation Program for the Township of Willingboro. Public hearing is now open. Host, do you see anyone?
I do see Brown.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm at 78 Executive Lane in Willenboro. I just wanted to thank the police, fire department, the EMS for their service.
Ms. Brown, this is,
Yes.
this is public, I'm sorry, this is public hearing for the ordinance. Do you have anything to say about ordinance 2023-16?
Oh, okay, sorry about that. So resolution 212.
Ordinance
wanted-
23-16? Where this is a public hearing for that particular ordinance.
Oh,
We'll have public comment again so that you can say what you need to say.
okay, I had to say something about that audience. I'm trying to pull it up as I speak with you. Could you regenerate what it says again, 216? Could you repeat what that audience says for number 216?
Sure.
Ordinance 2020.
2023-6.
Ordinance 20, yeah, I'm gonna read it, right, that's what she asked me. Ordinance 2023-16, a ordinance amending ordinance 2023-4, modifying standards for the Divine Nine Park Bench donation program for the township of Willenboro.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't have a comment on that. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Was that all, host?
Yes, that's all.
Public hearing is now closed. This is the final reading for ordinance 2023-16, or ordinance amending ordinance 2023-4, modifying standards for the Divine Nine Park Bench donation program for the township of Willenboro. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Anderson, seconded by Councilwoman Worthy. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Perone,
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield.
Yes.
And Mayor McIntosh.
Yes.
This is public hearing for ordinance 2023-17. This replaces ordinance 2023-10, bond ordinance providing for the roadway project in and by the township of Willenboro in the county of Burlington, New Jersey, appropriating not to exceed $3,750,000. Therefore, bonds or notes of the township to finance the cost thereof. Public hearing is now open.
Okay, Brown,
Ms. Brown, if you're speaking, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Good evening again. I'm talking about the ordinance you just recommended. I'm talking about section 10. To clarify, it's a bond, right? It's a bond that we're borrowing, right? And we're paying it back. But in the paragraph, section 10, it says the limitation of rate of amount. Could you clarify what that means? Because it's saying that they're gonna levy our taxes if the bond's not paid back, but isn't it gonna be paid back?
Who's gonna respond to?
Mr. Harris?
So that is absolutely correct. The bond is going to be paid back. But it is going to be paid back through levy tax revenue. So yes.
But it's not additional tax revenue from our taxes, is it?
No, it is revenue that is raised through taxation. It is not above and beyond. That's included in our annual budget.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Host, you see anyone else?
That's all.
Public hearing is now closed. Ordinance 2023-17, this is the final reading, replaces ordinance 2023-10, bond ordinance providing for the roadway project in and by the township of Willenboro in the county of Burlington, New Jersey, appropriating not to exceed $3,750,000, therefore bonds or notes of the township to finance the cost thereof. I need a motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Perone, seconded by Councilwoman Worthy. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Peron,
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield.
Yes.
And Mayor McIntosh.
Yes.
This is public hearing for ordinance 2023-18, replacing ordinance 2023-11. Bond ordinance providing for various capital improvement in and by the township of Willenboro in the county of Burlington, New Jersey, appropriating $1,778,210 bonds or notes of the township to finance part of the cost thereof. Public hearing is now open. Host, do you see anyone?
Not at this time.
Public hearing is now closed. This is the final reading for ordinance 2023-18. Bond ordinance providing for various capital improvement in and by the township of Willenboro in the county of Burlington, New Jersey, appropriating $1,778,210 bonds or notes of the township to finance the part of the cost thereof. I need a motion, please.
So
Oh.
moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Anderson, seconded by Councilwoman Worthy. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Peron,
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield.
Yes.
And Mayor McIntosh.
Yes.
This is public hearing for ordinance 2023-19, replacing ordinance 2023-11. Bond ordinance providing for various capital improvement in and by the township of Willenboro in the county of Burlington, New Jersey, appropriating $3 million therefore and authorizing the issuance of $2,850,000 bonds or notes of the township to finance part of the cost thereof. Public hearing is now open. Host, we see anyone?
Not at this time.
Public hearing is now closed. This is the final reading for ordinance 2023-19. Bond ordinance providing for various capital improvement in and by the township of Willenboro in the county of Burlington, New Jersey, appropriating $3 million therefore and authorizing the issuance of $2,850,000 bonds or notes of the township to finance part of the cost thereof. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Anderson, seconded by Councilwoman Worthy. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Peron,
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield,
Yes.
and Mayor McIntosh.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Are there any resolutions that anyone wants to take out for further discussion?
Just the duplicates.
Yeah. Okay, I make a motion for consent agenda of resolutions 2023 to 11, 2023 to 11, 2023 to 12, 2023 to 13, 2023 to 15, 2023 to 16, 2023 to 17, and 2023 to 18.
I just wanted to 212.
212, okay. Okay, and we'll remove 212, so that's resolution 223 to 11, 213, 215, 216, 217, 218.
What was your motion?
Mhm.
Second.
Moved by Mayor McIntosh, seconded by Councilwoman Worthy. Roll call, please.
Councilman Anderson?
Yeah.
Councilwoman Peron,
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield.
Yes.
And Mayor McIntosh.
Yes. I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved by Mayor McIntosh, seconded by Councilman Anderson. Roll call, please.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Peron,
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield.
Yes.
And Mayor McIntosh.
Yes. Do resolution 212.
Resolution 2023-212, Southern New Jersey Regional Employee Benefits Fund, resolution to renew. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Whitfield, seconded by Councilman Anderson. Any discussion?
Yes. Mr. Harris, this benefit fund, how does it intertwine with the current health plan that you have recently selected?
I'm sorry, it doesn't. This is a separate plan that is these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 members belong to and has no bearing on our health plan at all.
Oh, it's 7 individual members that belong to it, so
That
it's
is
not
correct.
for the, oh, okay.
These are actually retirees from the township. They're not current employees.
Oh.
And they opted to stay with this program back in the day so they can retain their health benefits at that time, which were with Delta Dental. And they did not want to switch to the state's plan. So we kept membership in that plan so they could retain their benefits.
Okay, thank you for explaining that. No further questions.
Any other discussion? Okay, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Peron,
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield,
Yes.
and Mayor McIntosh.
Yes. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Mayor, we'll go straight to
Treasurer approval.
no treasury report and no approval of minutes, because I don't believe they were in your packet.
Miss Starling emailed them out.
She emailed them.
To everyone?
Yeah,
got mine.
yeah.
Okay. I need a motion for approval of minutes for September the 5th, 2023, please.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Anderson, seconded by Councilwoman Worthy. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Peron,
Yes.
Councilwoman Worthy,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield,
Yes.
and Mayor McIntosh.
Yes.
Mayor, for the month of August, phone calls submitted to the clerk office was 1,394. Phone calls made was 1,568. Monies from mercantile license was $2,051.05, $206.80 for dog license, total of 11 dog license. We received 103. Oprah request. Currently now for planning board applications, you have Diamond Dog, Willenboro Township, North Manager LLC, and Pima zoning board. We have one application from United Hearts. You will get an email copy. They'll receive one survey for the month of August for Ms. Walker. Stating excellent customer service. You have coming up this Friday, September the 22nd, 3 candidates to interview for the municipal clerk position. We still have one outstanding to respond. And I need dates still for November, or maybe I just need to get you dates for November for the budget hearing.
Yeah, you can get us some dates. We can see if we can accept that. So you can send out some dates.
Yes, okay. And barring that, any questions from you? That's all that I have.
Any questions for
The board.
our clerk? Okay, moving on to unfinished business. I'd like to call Mr. Weiss up for his presentation. As we look into economic development along the Route 130 corridor, Mr. Weiss or Weiss Properties is the owner of the Avery Apartments, and we're looking to have some development over right next to it in that area. So he's come to present to council his ideas.
Thank you very much, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council, and public. Try to, I'm gonna have to do a dance back and forth. See this. So, thank you very much for having me here. I'm gonna try to move it along. This piece of property is located on the corner of Route 130 and Pennypacker Drive. This is the commercial portion of the Avery Townhome Apartments, and you can see them in the background there, where we have been trying to activate this corner in order to bring commercial benefits to both Willingboro and our 450 residences next door. And we tried a few different things, and first of all, I wanted to say it's great to be here in person, because it's been really a terrible 2-3 years with not being able to come and show up in person. So I'm very happy to be here. You can see I'm excited. But everybody can hear me, right? Yeah. Okay, so this is what it looks like now. And I'm gonna just keep flipping these boards. And this is what we would like it to look like. And I will show you
see,
the
Councilman?
different components. Put it around here. You can see this is the same corner. And we've had a lot of conversations of what to do on this corner. And one of the things that stays as a constant is retail is a very challenging thing to build. It's been challenging for the last 5, 6, and 7 years, and we were trying to figure out what can we do on this corner in order to help us with being able to do retail, restaurant, and be able to help with the financing of being able to build something like this, because retail alone doesn't work. I mean, everybody knows that. You have to supplement it with something else. And I wanted to show you very quickly, and I'll have a site, let's put this up here for a second. So what we have here is one building that's 10,000 square feet, another building that's a little bigger than that. And then we have a CubeSmart on the back of the property. And we already have a deal that's been sitting there with CubeSmart for quite a long time. So the new thing that we have over here is that we have pickup windows in 3 different stores. And for those of you who don't know pickup windows, I'm from the old group, and I don't think I've done a mobile order yet. But you know, this is very, very interesting, because it's not the old school Dunkin' Donuts drive up where you go to the first sign and you say, can I have a medium coffee? And you hear, "Rah, rah, rah, rah." Okay, so we've all done that. So this is all done on your phone, and you order what you want and you pay what you want. And then there's a particular parking spot where you can pull into, and then you get a text when it's ready and you drive through. And what's great about these drive-throughs is they can be a lot shorter than the standard drive-through where you have to put in your order, then pay, because obviously the stacking starts to get larger and larger. So right now, the way we had it, we've had this kind of configuration a few different times, is 2 separate buildings and a CubeSmart behind that. Just to maybe get this more, let's turn this way for a second. And it's a little more of a site plan-y look, where we have retail number 1, retail number 2, and then we have the CubeSmart behind it. It has its own entrance. The retail has 2 entrances, one off of Route 130 and one off of Pennypacker Drive. So in concept, because that's what we're talking about here, this is a conceptual conversation. We're looking at something that would have dining with outside seating and also drive-through window. Everybody can see them. Now, you guys can see that one of the signs up here, although some of them are made up, this one isn't made up. This is BUNO's. And you can see that. Okay, so that's it. A little history with us in BUNO's. We have a strip plaza in Florence, right off of Route 130, very similar. And about 6 months ago, BUNO's took over 5,000 square feet with their liquor license. And I can tell you, these guys are just pros, from the food to the business, and the nicest people I've dealt with in a very long time. And they came in, they're blowing off the doors, and I said to them one day, I said, you know, we've got this property down in Willingboro. And would you be interested in it like that? And they said, well, we looked at that. We actually want to move our store from Burlington, and like, I'm like, no, this can't, really? And they're in 5,000 square feet. And they have a liquor license, and they're doing fantastic, and they have great reputation. But instead of me telling you about them, Recapper, who's one of the owners of Diono's with her husband, Steve, both very impressive people, and also business people, and how they just maneuver with things is pretty extraordinary. So if it's okay with the council, I would like Rita to come up and say a few words about what she would envision in something in this location. Is that okay?
Mhm.
Okay, great. You're up.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you for having me here today. I'm very excited. I have actually been a Willingboro resident since 2008. My husband is a third generation Willingboro resident, and I hate to say, but this is my first council meeting, so I do apologize about that. But we love Willingboro. I love Willingboro. My husband obviously loves Willingboro. He chose to buy a house here after both of his grandparents and both of his parents also purchased property here. So we want nothing more for Willingboro than to thrive, because this is our home. We've been here for a while, and our kids plan to be here as well. And I think Mr. Wise, he is wonderful to work with. He is the building owner in Florence, and he has been very supportive, and he has a great vision for Willingboro as well. As he stated, we have a lot of experience in this industry. Dr. Worthy, you know, our first store back in 2015, very tiny 800 square foot restaurant, and we grew to now 4. We have a bagel shop in Burlington County as well. We really want Willingboro to succeed, and we think that we can bring great food and our expertise. And not only that, but also I tell everybody, especially in like my Burlington and my Mount Holly store, I love to employ local high school kids, because I feel like we can teach them basic life skills that will help them in college. And I feel like we can do great things, not only for the city of Willingboro, but also, the township of Willingboro, but also for the kids here as well. You know, this is our home, this is our community, and we'd love to feed it great food and just be great pillars of the community. You know, nothing is better than local business. I believe everybody who has a local business wants their town to succeed, wants their town to be great, and we want nothing more than Willingboro to be great. So we're a full proponent of moving our Burlington store, which is our first store, to Willingboro, and make it our home. Thank you very much for having me this evening.
Thank you.
Wow, that was great. I feel a little inadequate right now. So, you know, it's interesting because, you know, for so many years, I would have to try to have people envision what we just finished hearing, because this person's going to come and that's when it's going to happen and this is going to happen. So I'm really glad that we have some solid plans, and just to give you an idea, they would be, if they would take the same amount of square feet, I asked the doctor about that, but this is a 10,000 square foot building, so they would be about half. The other thing to recognize, which is always the case, is that it's the pioneer that's so hard to bring in. And then once one comes in and there's a success, then all of a sudden everybody jumps on the bandwagon. So we're very interested in working with them. We're very clear that we don't have the zoning for this, and we can't exactly do this right now. We do have the zoning for the retail, but we don't have the zoning for the self-storage, because it's basically absent in the ordinance. And what would have to happen is the redevelopment ordinance would have to be amended to allow for self-storage. I'll show you a few more pictures. This is just from a different view. And you can see this is again, this is a concept, but this is like the modern, what you have to do today, which has, you know, we have covered seating on the outside. We have a lot of glass. We have the drive-through. You have to give the person who's renting from you every which way, every advantage to be successful. Because if they're not successful, we're not successful. And, you know, we'd have to see, we don't know who would eventually end up coming, but we'd have to see, you know, who would follow. Just another picture here. Just a quick picture of, one second. This would be the second building. It's a little bit larger, same type of concept, maybe a different use, maybe a physical therapy. And we have, you know, 6 guys and burgers over here on the end that don't exist, thankfully. Gotta watch myself here. Here we go. I'm gonna quickly run through these. And this is the view from the other side. So you can see this, it's a staggered, more modern look, but not crazy modern, and very much scaled, human scale, and comfortable. And if you want to eat outside, you want to eat inside, it gives you the ability to have those different variations. So one of the issues that always came up was, okay, so we know if we let you build the self-storage, how do we know that the retail is going to be built? And so we're going to get the elephant in the room right now. We're going to talk about it, and we've come up with a plan. And I just want to say that how much I appreciate the ability and to be able to come informally in front of a council to just be able to say, what do you think of this? And what do you think of that? And no, we don't like that, or we do like this. It makes our job a little bit easier. Not that they've been that easy, but it makes it easier. So at least we get some type of direction and we're not just going round and round in circles. So let me just show you this over here. Let me show this. Whoops. Okay. So what we're proposing is we have 2 phases. One phase is the first retail building and the CubeSmart. The second phase, which will depend on the success of the first retail building, is the second retail building. And what we would propose, and I'm saying this in a general way, and I'm sure the township solicitor and whoever else is going to work with them will refine that language. But our commitment would be that we cannot start the CubeSmart without starting the retail. Now, you have 2 different kinds of buildings. One takes a lot longer, one takes a little bit shorter. And in concept, if you've seen how they build retail strip plazas, because there are so different tenants are so unique and they have such different requirements when it comes to entries, and when it comes to electrical loads, and when it comes to kitchens, and it comes to HVAC requirement. Basically, we would build the building, which would be the shell, what they call a shell. And then what happens is when you get a tenant, let's say it would be a Bunos, they would come in there and say, okay, this is what we want on the inside. And we would do a certain amount of it. They would do a certain amount of it. But basically, our commitment would be is to finish this, all the paving, everything ready to go. But we may not have a tenant, which is a good possibility. We might have a tenant for half the building. So that is our proposal in order to be able to first amend the redevelopment plan, which would allow for self-storage. Right now, self-storage is not allowed. And then once that redevelopment plan is amended, then we come back to the planning board, and then we do a regular planning board approval, which is the engineering and the actual buildings and the architecture and, a real planning board approval. We can't obviously go to the planning board without that because it doesn't work. So, and how we tie them together, we can talk about it. We have good intentions on this. We have no intentions of going ahead and saying, oh, we're going to do this, but we're not going to do that. But there are 2 different kinds of buildings and 2 different kinds. But so what would happen is if the start of the CubeSmart would be dependent on starting the commercial. It wouldn't be the other way around. We can start the commercial. In other words, You know, right now, if with the BUNOs, if we all of a sudden attract more attention on this and we want to go ahead and start this without the CubeSmart, we'd be able to do that too. If we had it all leased, and that becomes the big problem of trying to get financing, is that it always puts you in a catch-22. Financing always wants to say, well, you have all your leases, and like, how can I have all my leases? I have trees out there. I have to show something. I have to be able to get going. And it's difficult. It was always difficult. Once upon a time, this type of retail was just the darling of the financial industry. They'd give you everything they want. Then came the first downturn and the second downturn. And these have to be packaged. They have to be packaged with something that has like institutional desire, like the self-storages. Besides the fact that financially they work, the self-storages we have 450 apartments next door. We have tenants that are constantly asking us, you know, self-storage and this, we'd be able to bundle it together. We're convinced that we would be able to do a great job on it. But, you know, at this point, what we need is to be able to get to the planning board with a plan. Again, this is all conceptual. We had these things just whipped up. I mean, the site plan is the site plan. That's the one we've been working with for a couple of years now. And we know that everything works engineering wise because our engineer, Bob Stout, who hasn't been here for a while, I guess, you know, that's all been worked out 20 different ways. The only thing they're not 100% sure about till they do the engineering is the new stormwater regs. Now instead of making one big detention basin, you get to do 5 small ones. Makes a lot of sense. But there are different things that only until you dig into it with the engineer that you're going to actually see if you have to move a building or move it down, up, where you have to do all these things. So what we're really asking for is the opportunity to activate this corner, to bring something great to Willingboro. I think it's going to be great. I think the self-storage is great. I think the retail restaurant is going to be great. And I think right now, all we have is, where did it go? This is what we have now. And I don't think this is doing, you know, anybody really any good. And we'd like to at least get going. There is a lot of work to be done between the amending the redevelopment plan and then having to go back to the planning board. All these things take time. There's different meetings, and we'd like to be able to be in a position that we can start working on this stuff. And after a certain amount of time, again, it doesn't go that quick because we have to go back and forth a few different meetings. And at that point, we'd like to come to the planning board and be able to present this and be able to build this. But right now, what I'm here for and what we need your help for is to give us some direction as to how, first of all, number one, if this appeals to you, that's first of all. If it does, how to go about it so that we can move this forward, so that we can get to the point where we can actually do real engineering drawings, bring everything to the township planning board, the town planning board, and make this a reality.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. It's good to see you again. And you've been here quite often. You were coming here before we even got on council. So for me, I think this is a great concept, but I'd like to hear from other council if they have any questions for Mr. Weiss or any concerns, or if they like it or want to pursue it. We have to go through some legal redevelopment hurdles, but I just want a consensus if you want to pursue it.
All I'm gonna say, Mr. Weiss, is I was here when you birthed the pink elephant. That still sits with me. Like I said, if we can work through that, if we can get some type of commitment in writing that we can stick to indicate what you say is what's going to happen and in the order it's going to happen, because I've been here, there's a lot of wordplay. So if we can sort through that, you know, I would consider. But first we got to get rid of that pink elephant.
Who would we be working with on that?
Well, I guess with the council and with the attorney as we discuss, you know, what you're proposing, but we want to make sure that the wordplay, because I've been here, I know you, and I just want to make sure we do, what's needed to get to where we're all happy. That's all.
Excellent.
Hello, Mr. Weiss.
Hi.
I thought the presentation was a good presentation. It's a good idea. And I just wanted to clarify the retail area, which is part of phase one, because in your diagram, the storage unit is also part of phase one. And when you were speaking, you said that you were going to start with the retail area first. So when you say, yes, phase one, that one. So when you say phase one with the retail area, you're going to build the retail part to its completion, or are you building that structure at the same time that you're building the structure of the cube?
So let me clarify that. I'm sorry if I wasn't clear. Really, what we're trying to do is figure out a way to satisfy Mr. Anderson. And that is to be able to say in however words it gets put in, is that we cannot begin building the Q-Smart without starting the retail. In other words, they have to happen at the same time. And the only thing I want to clarify, when you say completion,
Right.
we can complete everything, but we can't complete the inside. So that's what, that's just a classic issue with retail strip plazas, is that you can't, it's not like office space where you can just, okay, we'll just finish it off and put in carpet and put in top. Everybody has their own requirement, and Starbucks has a crazy requirement, and maybe Bionos has a crazy requirement, but they're all different. And you can't guess, do they need 5 tons of HVAC? Do they need 8 tons of HVAC? How many amps of electric do they need? And all that has to be figured out before you can't go ahead and do it and then undo it. So just to clarify what I'm saying is that everything around it will be finished. The parking lot will be finished, the sidewalks will be finished, the building will be finished, but the inside might not be finished. Or one might be finished and one might be still, built out and stuff like that. Is that more clear, or?
That's a little more clear. I just have a follow-up question. So how will you be marketing the retail area if it's not completed? And I'm imagining that this type of, according to what you're stating, this type of design at its new phase, just built, the inside will not be built. So a retail business person or company that's interested are expecting that these furnishings would not be there. So therefore, they're looking at their own budget as far as starting up another restaurant, and they're expecting that they have to fit the finances to build whatever structure needs to be done, or is that something that you're doing?
Okay,
And are
let
you
me-
going to market that?
So let me clarify that.
Mhm.
First of all, you don't get better when it comes to marketing, when somebody can actually drive up, park their car, and then come through the door, even if it's not done. Just because it's not done doesn't mean we're not paying for it. It just means we're not going to pay for it twice. And that's not the idea. In other words, if every deal is different, right? So, I did a Starbucks. They want you to do X, Y, Z, and then they pick it up from that stage. So every person is different, but basically doesn't mean, just because there's nothing there, doesn't mean that we are not going to finish it to a certain degree. I just want to make sure that instead of spending money and putting, 2 2-ton units, and then the person walks in and says, this is great, but my requirement, I need 6 tons because I have a restaurant and I have makeup there and all this other stuff. Then we say, oh, well, what are we going to do now? It's not the question of who pays for it. It's just a matter of who is going, what you really need these days
Mhm.
with these you've been in new restaurants and new things. It's like they're wild, some of them. They're just, so much glass and so much this. So everybody has their own requirement, and you just have to, there's nothing in my mind, in my experience, there's nothing that would make somebody happier than if they walk in and they see a clean slate and they say, okay, wow, we can do anything over here. And then it's just a matter of, okay, you're gonna do this amount, then we're gonna do this amount. So it's not, we're not marketing and saying, here it is, go knock yourself out. It's really, here it is. What do you want us to do, and what do you want? What are you gonna do?
I have one more last question. So with the presentation that we received from Bruno's, would they be your first retail store? Would that part be completely finished? Because we know that they are also,
Yes,
okay.
if we were talking conceptually, we don't have any leases or anything like
Right.
that, but they're excited about it, but if, you know, they're ready to. Where we were speaking about, we're showing 3 units over here, but they would actually be, it would be left, they'd be actually taking half of that building.
Right, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Weiss, thank you for the presentation. I do appreciate you breaking it out in the phases, 1 and 2, being mindful of the previous discussions and really responding to council's concerns. So I do appreciate that. I'm excited about the potential of Buono's being there, having Willingboro residents there. Food is delicious, and they are great family-owned business, which is wonderful compliment to the community. And I look forward to working alongside the council and the solicitor to see what those next steps may be. But I do appreciate the presentation and the visuals and being able to hear directly from Bree so that the community and the council can hear what this could be. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much for your time, appreciate it.
Mr. Weiss, I just have one thing.
Well, sorry.
Thank you. No, thank you for your presentation and thank you for your hard work and finding a working concept that I think we can get on board with. My question is just the way that you split it up between phase 1 and phase 2. What, I guess, when you come back, just being a little more specific on what constitutes a success in phase 1 that would prompt or initiate the start of phase 2, just so that we're a little more clear on that.
Okay, so, you know, basically, it's not 100,000 square feet. So I would say if all of a sudden you end up with another 1 or 2 more tenants, or if you rent the whole first phase, we would be very interested in getting into the second phase, because that means, you know, we have the customers for it. The only thing that I don't want to get caught with is, you know, a slower start in phase 1 and then having to commit it to the council saying, oh, but where's the second building? And I'm like, I can't build a second building. We don't have customers for the first one. I think we're very fortunate right now. This is really, I see this as a very big stroke of luck with Buono's, because, you know, we just have the relationship already, and I didn't know they were from Willingboro, and I didn't know that they were looking for another store. I was just kind of picking their brain a little bit because they are successful. And I said, oh, well, what do you think of this? And it went from there. So if it's successful, we're going to roll right into it. I mean, we're going to have approvals for everything. We're not going to do it. We'll do it in 2 phases just because we'll phase it that way, or we'll have 3 lots and blocks probably. And from financing purposes, but there's no reason that I can think of that if the first building is successful, why we wouldn't build a second building. So
Okay.
there's no, I think on that, our interests are aligned.
Okay, so it would depend on the having occupied units in phase 1 at that.
Or people that come, even if they're not finished, and say, listen, you know, I have a physical therapy, and you know, I want 10,000 square feet over there. I have a restaurant, and it's really very fluid.
Okay.
But I can tell you, the only time that happens is when there's some activity. We can never get anybody excited at when they go by there. It just doesn't work that way anymore. People have to, you know, drive up, even if it's not finished, and get a good idea. How do I get in? How do I get out? Where is this? Where is that? How tall is the building? Oh, this, look at the visibility. Look at the 42,000 cars that go by every single day. And I, it's like, you know, when they say, you know, you can touch it, that's when we get to a point where people who are interested, serious people that are interested in making plans, they turn up because one follows the other. This is really how it goes. But to answer your question, you know, we have no reason to stop after that. It would all be market driven.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, Mr. Weiss, last question. In terms of phase 2, if you were to be granted the redevelopment and you started phase one, what would phase two remain just trees, or would that be flattened out?
No, I think I can't answer that question right now because I don't know the engineering. But a lot of times when you do a site, even if you're not getting to that part of the site, there are things that you have to do to make sure that the whole site is working. So maybe, you know, curbs are in, but not the paving, or you have to get it to a certain point. And that I can't tell you until actually the site is engineered, because there might be a requirement of that area having a detention basin. I don't know, they have these multiple detention basins now. So I can't answer that right now, but obviously we'd like it to look as good as possible, because again, it goes to the curb appeal of the first building.
Okay, I appreciate that. And again, the council in full is really interested in economic development for our town, especially in that area. It's been a long time coming.
Yes.
So we'll work with our legal team,
Right.
to give you a timetable, and the next steps.
Okay,
So I
perfect.
appreciate you.
That'd be great. If we
coming
just
in
get some
today.
direction and we can work out satisfactory language, I don't think we have to do that. You understand, we all understand the concept of what we're trying to have happen,
Mhm.
both for the town and both for us. And I think we should just work on that language, on trying to make everybody happy and be able to move forward with this.
Okay, and I
Great.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
Okay,
everybody.
Thank you. Do we have anything else from council for unfinished business? Councilwoman Pearl?
Yeah, my question is relating to the sanitation trash company that does not pick up the trash. When are we sending out bids for that? What's our timeline with them?
2024.
24 to send out bids?
At the start. Like, do you know when in 24?
Like January, you mean like January 1st?
Well,
You say
first, the
20.
council's gonna have to determine if they're going to go out to rebid or if they're going to renew the contract.
No, we need
So-
to rebid, because the issue, well, my opinion, the issue with the bid, how it was drafted, and I understand it was a third-party company and the whole kit and caboodle. The bid does not work for Willingboro, so we need to rebid and actually have some more participation with that, my recommendation. And then send out, like, not to renew their contract, because I feel that we've already met with them on numerous occasions. We've did several different things to punish them as far as withholding money. They're still not getting up to par. So I think we should definitely produce a new bid. And as soon as we are able to do that, I just don't want us to miss that timeline. So I know we have a few more months before the new year. So when you say 2024, do you mean like January, or do you mean April?
Well, I think your contract is good until June of 2024. So you're going to have a determination. So if you're saying now you're going to go out to bid, then we can begin, crafting bid documents and things like that. You did mention to have more participation. Putting something out to bid isn't going to guarantee more participation. You might just get one bidder.
Oh, no, I meant the criteria that was written in the bid, because somebody wrote the language that we only want the trash picked up once a week.
Correct.
And I never approved that. I know I didn't. So things like that. I don't feel like we should be in the blind for what the content reads, and then we're asked to vote for it.
I agree.
So that's what I meant, participation on the council level.
And I think in the past previously, I had put it out there, if the council be interested in putting together a committee to do exactly that which you speak of.
Okay.
So I guess, on top of, Councilwoman Peron's, her point, is there a timeline that we need to make a decision, whether I think that needs to be presented to council, when we need to have an answer for rebid? If that's council's, collectively, the consensus?
So trash bids take a very lengthy period of time. So if you're determining now that you are not going to go out to bid or renew that contract, then so we can begin the rebidding process, understanding that their contract is still good until June of 2024.
Okay.
So we would have to, prepare transitional periods with the new company. So again, if that's what the body is saying they want to do, we can begin working on that now. So I think that you're looking for a very specific date as to when we would go out to bid, and I don't know that I can.
Yeah, we don't
get
want to
you
be late
exactly.
though. If that's the decision, if that's the consensus of council, we don't want to miss that time period.
So once again, bids are very lengthy and please refresh me, but I believe that they have to actually be advertised for a period of 60 days. They're very lengthy.
Right, that's why I was
So-
asking now, because I recall that it was a 3-year agreement with them. I knew 2024 was coming up. So that's why it's September. So I'm like, so what does that look like?
So if it's 60, minimum of 60 days on the street, then I would say that you would probably have to provide at least that amount of time for the new company to ramp up. It would be determined, are we going to have to go, are we going to be able to retain the trash cans that we have and utilize them? Are they going to have to supply new cans? So it could be 4 months. So probably we would have to begin the bidding process very early in next year.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
I do recall the trash cans were purchased.
Yeah.
So they're belong to us, whether Republicans here or not. I mean, I shouldn't say the name, but. Oh, okay. Okay, well, let's look
Right,
into, I
but-
mean, I know it's gonna be a lot of questions. But yeah, I understand what you're saying.
All right, as we go down this road, we just want to be mindful. We want to see what other companies out there will provide the service. Because I do know there's one company that bought up a lot of the smaller companies.
Mhm.
We want to take into consideration what pricing is going to be. Because if we jump too far out there, what's going to happen is if we have no choice but to go back, those prices will increase. So we just want to be mindful of how we move forward, how we look at this, take all of the options into consideration, even going to 2 days a week. We want to know what these numbers look like. And then I suggest we do a forum with the community. Because if they want 2 cans and prices go up and taxes go up, that's their call. So I think we just need to be mindful and be inclusive of the community on this as we move forward.
Okay, and I know, Mr. Harris, we've had these discussions and you've been, someone from your staff has been collecting, intel on what our options would be. Because for me, I'm okay with the rebid. I'm looking for adequate trash collection, adequate trash collection for the community, period. So I know you were in the process of, doing a comparison with the two trash cans twice a week. And even if, our current trash collector could accommodate that. So I think we just need that info, and I think then we can have a consensus on, the rebid or
So
extending a contract.
I will tell you, our current trash collector has already stated if twice a week collection is something that Willingboro absolutely has to have, they would probably not bid on the contract.
You see, that's what I mean, like, they just
But that's,
gotta go.
Councilwoman, that is not uncommon. A
Please
lot of
don't.
municipalities are having difficulties because they're putting out trash bids and they're getting one bidder and their contracts are going 3-4 times more than what they are currently paying.
The shortage of drivers.
So,
Space for the trash.
I mean, we can put out there anything that we want, but companies are not obligated to bid based on, on what we want is what they're able to provide.
I think it doesn't hurt to put out a bid. I mean, if you don't ask for what you want, then you really don't get anything. So
Correct.
I think I'm not afraid to ask for what I want. So you go fishing, you
But-
put the worm out. If it bites, it bites. If you put nothing out, then you get nothing.
But we need to be very careful about what it is that we're asking for.
Right.
Because if you ask for something that you can't get and then your contract ends, then how do you move forward?
Well, we know that the contract is, you stated June, so that's next summer. So we have time to, and I think Councilman Anderson gave a good suggestion. Look to see what the figures look like, so we're not expecting way above more than what's out there. but meet in the middle. But like I said, more participation with council, a discussion like what we're having now, but with the
Absolutely.
real, pen and paper as far as what we're looking for. And let's see what we got.
And oh, go ahead, Council.
I was just gonna say, if we, let's say we go through the process and we put it out to bid, if we do it early enough and we see that none of the bids are matching what it is what we require as a municipality, and we reject all bids, would we be able to still stay with our contractor and renew for the additional year?
So that would be a question that we can have more thoroughly. I believe there is that possibility.
You have to be careful how you draft it, obviously, but I think there is probably a way where you could go out to bid before you reach the time period where we have to give notice to terminate the other
Just do it
contract.
early.
We have to take a look at the actual original contract terms, see what they say. So I will work with Mr. Harris to take a look at that and start putting together kind of a process of how we can, explore. I think there's two things: informal exploring, the process, exploring what services are out there, seeing if there's any, 2 times a week pickup in other areas where we can see what the costs are, do the kind of due diligence that Councilman Anderson's talking about. At the same time, look at our legal things. Once we get that together, we can meet, discuss it with the council and decide, okay, this is the process we'll follow. But I just want to be careful because I'm not going to take a shot in the dark without having a chance to look at the Republic contract and make sure we're not violating anything in that contract by going out to bid prior to our termination of their deal. So,
For sure.
And also just to make sure that we're not leaving any options, unexplored.
Right.
If I know previously, we had talked to Republic about a possible amendment of the current contract. And if that's something that's possible, either with an increase in trash cans or what have you, I'd also like to explore that. If there's a way to amend, without going out for a new bid.
The other thing was, we also talked about, as expensive as was, buying our own truck. So at least starting off with one, maybe looking into that too, because if we buy our own truck, then we can employ our own people and we can pick up our own trash. So I know that I remember we talked about it before, you said those trucks are really expensive. But are there used trucks out there? I mean, we just got to start somewhere. And even if we only had one, even if we still have the company, meaning that we still have the company until we are strong enough where we have multiple sanitation trucks, or at least whatever, 2 or 3, we can have on our own, and probably also pick up somebody else's trash and make some money there too. You know what I mean? If they're not picking up the trash, if we buy our own product, hire our own staff, people, our community residents, it's a win-win.
I don't disagree with you there either. Maybe I don't know if there's a possibility we have a super authority and things like that. Maybe there's a trash consortium that we could join with fellow municipalities and put together our own little collection services. I think at this point, the issues with the trash trucks, not the expense, is the turnaround time. It'll probably be 2 years from the date we order a truck to the time it was delivered. And if we're only talking about 6 months in a current contract, you have a gap. And then how do you fill the gap? And trash receptacle companies are less willing to have short-term agreements. They want long-term. For example, when we were experiencing the prior problems with Republic, we did reach out to some other firms. One was a loading firm from Pennsylvania. And they're like, yeah, we'll come in and talk to you, but we want a minimum of 1-year contract. We were only looking for a couple of months usage. So, and this is the problem. We look to lease trucks for short-term basis. And we had to go to a company that was in Canada, and they put us on a list, and they said, when we get one available, we'll give you a call, and they haven't called yet. So I don't know if they've just forgot about us or what, but those are some of the obstacles that we would also be challenged with.
Right, and that's where I wasn't saying to not have a sanitation company. I just mean in the same time, obtaining our own truck for those times where we get the calls from the community, this trash has been picked up. Now we're picking it up, and we give them the bill for it. you owe us because we had to have our own guys pick up the trash.
Uh,
Things like that. I mean, I don't know. I know it's a contract, that's contract talking, but I mean, actually investing in a truck. And if it takes 2 years, at least we start now. So at least we know we started today and by 2026, we'll have a truck, if that's how long it takes.
And I'm in agreement with you, but I do still, we have to put on the record just to take caution, as Councilman said, just take caution, because if we don't get anything, it's trash, you know, and we can get no pickup. You know, I don't know how these companies operate. I know, you know, they're kind of, oh, you didn't rebid, you know, re-up with us. So, I mean, I am for taking the risk. But I mean, I think we need to put on the record that it is a risk, and a risk of non-pickup for a certain amount of time.
Mhm.
If we, you know, choose to go that way. But before we go, I do want to, before we proceed, I do want to make sure everyone's in consensus. We have a consensus. Take a motion for Mr. Crook to, you know, formally proceed and work with Mr. Harris on investigating.
You want to make a formal motion?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to have Mr. Crook and Mr. Harris explore the production of producing a bid for our sanitation company.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Perone, seconded by Councilman Anderson. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Good point. Doreen. Anything else for unfinished business? All right, moving on to new business. Mr. Harris, I see you have a couple of things just to bring to council's attention.
Yeah, so 3 things that were being presented as new business for your discussion in action or non-action. One of them was a resolution approving the corrective action plan based on the 2022 the recommendations in the 2022 audit report. There was one finding in our audit report from 2022 where there were several instances where the township did not have proper supporting documentation for the expenditure of funds. The recommendation from our auditor was that the township should ensure that we have supporting documentation for all expenditures of funds, and we are going to implement this by scheduling training with all department heads and support staff on the township's purchasing policies and procedures as it relates specifically to New Jersey purchasing law. We are going to review all documents that are received from the vendors to ensure that the documentation properly supports the expenditures. And our CFO and myself are going to do periodic check of all departments, their operational functions to ensure compliance with the internal controls and procedures as they relate to the expenditures of funds. And myself and Ms. Eusebia Diggs, our Chief Financial Officer, are going to make sure that these corrective actions are put into place by December 31st, 2023. We have already scheduled training sessions with our directors are going to be happening at our meeting on October the 3rd. So we are moving along down this road already. Any questions? So the second item, and if possible, we would like for you to take a formal action on this evening so we can submit it to the DCA along with the certification that you reviewed the audits and those things as well. The second item was a resolution appointing the Municipal Emergency Management Coordinator for the Township of Willingboro. Mr. John Carroll has served a term of 3 years for Willingboro as the OEM coordinator. And we are looking to reappoint him for another 3-year term beginning in December of 2023 through December 2026. So we did want you to take that into consideration. And in addition with that, there was a request for an agreement to be executed with the New Jersey Red Cross. where after the tragic incident happened at what was the name of the church? It escapes me for the moment. The Fountain of Life, thank you. They were a Red Cross facility that would house families and others during emergency situations. At the loss of that facility, we were looking to maybe utilize our JFK Center in those types of emergent situations. The Red Cross came in, they were very receptive, but there were certain agreements that they wanted to have in place regarding what their obligations to the township would be and what the township's obligations to the Red Cross. And I presented that to you and asked for your consideration. I do know that there was some questions about that, and Mr. Carroll is here this evening to address any of those questions related to that. And then thirdly, asking for you to authorize the opt-in to examination exemption to civil service hiring procedures, which you did authorize in the past. It has been very successful, and we were looking for your consideration of re-upping that resolution. And Captain Bucks will be able to answer any questions for you related to that and offer you some statistics related to the successes that we have had in Willingboro because you were gracious enough to approve that resolution. So I'll bring, you want me to,
Yeah, you can bring it up.
Mr. Carroll?
Mr. Carroll, yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Ms. Blanche. You can do the first resolution.
We start with questions. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. How are you today?
Very good.
Good.
Thank you.
Council have any questions?
Yes,
Mr.
I
Worthy?
did. First, thank you, Mr. Carroll, for serving as our OEM coordinator over the past few years. And I look forward to a bit more interaction if we're able to go forward. We do appreciate the work that you do behind the scenes, and I think it's equally important for the council and the community to be aware of some of the types of meetings that you're engaging in and the work that you're doing on behalf of the municipality. So if periodically, going forward, you're able to provide just brief updates so that we remain just connected, I would appreciate that. Thank you. And then for the American Red Cross document for our consideration, I was curious in terms of, we talked a little bit before the meeting, what the triggers are to start having the Red Cross declare using the JFK Center as an emergency, and then what would the trigger be for it to stop so that it doesn't end up being something that's prolonged or we're using the JFK Center beyond a useful period of time. I'm just concerned about the timeliness.
Sure, we do have some history with emergencies in the county. Our biggest emergency was Hurricane Sandy.
Mhm.
That shelter operation went on for 14 days. And we've had a previous shelter operation for our neighbors in Burlington City. They were in trouble for a structural collapse up there. They were unable to open their shelter, and we committed to them to open our shelter here in Willingboro. And that lasted for 5 days. So that's a pretty good window. Whenever you open up, after taking care of the people, the most important thing is getting that facility closed. These things are labor intensive, they cost money, a lot of resources. So we want to get the people in, get them protected, and get them moved on to better situation.
Yeah, I
So
appreciate that.
between 3 and 14 days, state was a statewide emergency. Although Burlington County was not impacted, it was the people from the coastlines that came into Burlington County for shelter. And American Red Cross will only open up 2 shelters in the county, one in the north region, one in the south region. When we lost Fountain of Life, that left us kind of in a jam for a major event.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. And also, because this is new to me for this being, for JFK being an emergency location, I'm mindful of our vulnerable populations and how our buildings currently used. So we have the Reba Foster Senior Center, where our seniors are. Ms. Bolden runs recreation programming throughout, the building. I do understand operations would be interrupted, it's probably not the right word, but operations would change would it impact the entire building or a
It
portion?
would primarily be the two gymnasiums, the main gym and the auxiliary gym and the kitchen area. And of course, back in OEM's area and the back part of,
Banquet hall.
So the banquet hall, the banquet kitchen,
yes,
both gyms.
yes.
Okay, and
Depending on the size of the event, and how many
Understood.
people we have to house. We're probably more than capable of holding 450 people in the two gyms.
mhm,
And that's a major event.
right,
We just had a little bit more on that in Hurricane Sandy where there was two shelters open.
mhm.
So that's a major event.
And Mayor, if I may, okay, and also in terms of the accommodations, so we do know that there would need to be additional accommodations in our facility. Is there funding available to help us to be able to renovate, like we have locker rooms that could be used, but the showers are inoperable right now? Like, would there be funding to help to better prepare the building to serve?
When we first looked at this with the county and American Red Cross, we identified several items that had to be addressed. And we kind of come up with portable to begin with. We do want to make some permanent electrical connections. So we could bring a generator in that would power the building,
Mhm.
keep us heat and air conditioning, et cetera. And we would search for funding for that. In the meantime, portable equipment would be brought in,
Okay,
including showers and restrooms.
okay. And just as an aside, I think if the council goes along with this, we would really need to go back and look at our contracts for people renting our facilities. So if we have like things in a banquet hall, people have weddings and big events scheduled, we'd have to figure out, different language in those agreements so that we're not paying out of pocket when we have to disrupt those agreements.
Well, keep in mind that these events that you were open up a multi-jurisdictional shelter in Willingboro, that's a major event. You're not having any weddings.
But depending on where the emergency actually is, Willingboro may not be impacted.
We
So that's
understand.
yeah,
Yes.
that's my concern is we have an event for Willingboro and the emergency is really responding to people who aren't in our area and we're not impacted. So just
Yes.
want to legally make sure we're protected for those. But
Absolutely, I understand.
thank you very much,
Yeah.
Mr. Carroll.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hey,
Councilman
Mr.
Anderson?
Carroll, how's it going?
Good, sir.
Good. I know in the past when we had the flash flooding events and so forth, I had asked some time ago that if there could be any type of guidelines as far as if there's a hurricane, if there's flooding, something for the residents to be able to go to and be guided by. Have we had an opportunity to put anything together?
Well, we have what they call an all hazard approach for the emergency operating plan. So no matter what the emergency is, we're prepared for it with our structure. We couldn't specifically say, for instance, for if there's a shelter emergency, we had a major storm, to go to Kennedy. Because we don't know if the Kennedy roof is intact, whether we have power, whether we have water. We may not be able to go to Kennedy. We have to go someplace else. So although we have evacuation plans and we have theories of how we're going to do this, it depends on what the situation is. So it's an all hazard approach. That's how we address it.
All right, well, just something as do's and don'ts during particular storms. And this way, the residents, if they go to our website, this way they are able to access it. Anybody can access.
It's all readily available. We can put a brochure together. It's easy to do. It's all online. Everything that you see online is exactly what we're preaching every single day about emergency preparedness, home preparedness kits, go kits, and emergency supplies. All that stuff's on the internet. I just today I saw the device out in the lobby that holds the brochures and started to get my brochures together. I want to see if I can get them out there so people coming through can pick them up.
All right, Mr. Harris, would it be possible to get that information and be able to get it online so that residents can have access to it in the case of emergency? Because I don't think anybody's going to drive up here to get a brochure.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So just, so it's out there, wherever we need to do, Willingboro Connect, whatever, just so that they can have it as a resource.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll, for your work and your service to Willingboro. My mom was actually trained with your CERT team
Oh,
a
excellent.
few years ago. So
Yes.
I appreciate the work that you do here in preparing our residents to be okay in an emergency
I
situation.
appreciate it. And when Mr. Harris introduced me as having been in service for the last 3 years. I've actually been the emergency management coordinator since 1991.
Mhm. Yep, it's been quite a while.
Thank you very much.
So my question is on the Red Cross agreement. I understand that this is a multi-jurisdictional agreement, but you know, being elected and serving Willingboro and Willingboro residents, I really want to make sure that Willingboro residents have preference if there's a multi-jurisdictional emergency. I would hate for, you know, other residents in other townships that aren't Willingboro, come to Willingboro, take up all the spots in the emergency center, and then our Willingboro residents are left out in the cold and not protected when the facility is in our backyard.
I understand.
Using our resources, so.
So not only multi-jurisdictional, if it's a major event in the county or the state, it would be a multi-jurisdictional, but if it was a local community event, Red Cross is coming in to assist us with that as well. So it's not just for the multi-jurisdictional events.
Okay.
And unfortunately, with the Red Cross agreement, you can't turn anyone away. If we get to capacity, we have to find another alternative. We may have to go to we're in the northern region, we may have to bus people to the southern region so they're accommodated. But that's an awful lot of people, 450 people to fill up our Kennedy Center. Statewide, we didn't have that much.
Okay. And also just one last question. How often do these emergency events typically happen? Just to try to like get a gauge. There used to be the facility at Life Center or Fountain of Life. How often was that facility used or activated within an emergency?
It's only been open 3 times since I've been in service.
Since 91?
Yes, at Fountain of Life. Of course, Willingboro's opened up a couple of times. And Atlantic County, we've been down to Atlantic County to assist them. Willingboro goes wherever we're needed. We're probably the best partner that county and the state has.
We always are.
We participate everywhere. Anything that's going on in the state, if they need us, we go. During Hurricane Sandy, we pre-positioned all the emergency equipment in Burlington County with the help of Department of Public Works. We moved 12 trailers, 3-staged the equipment, set up the shelters, and we set up some municipal shelters too. We just didn't need a municipal shelter in Willingboro. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Harris, we'll have this for the next meeting to vote on. Okay. And you had one more, you had Captain Bucks.
Captain Bucks.
Councilman Anderson, I believe that information is already on our website, correct? So. You are. So good evening again. Again, this time last year, you know, I presented to you a resolution for the opt out of the civil service examination to allow us to, you know, basically go out and recruit police officers and try to get the best police officers for, you know, for our municipality and our residents. So part of that resolution, what was in, you know, in the language is that I would present to council how we use that resolution, you know, over that past year. So in 2022, we were able to hire 1 officer on that. So we interviewed 3 candidates, Tanner Kerman, who's a current police officer with us right now, Burhan Karaman, who we just swore in tonight, but we didn't hire him during that first round because we only had authorization to hire 1 during that last, it was in December of 2022. And then we also interviewed Kayla Cruz. So out of those 3, we were able to hire, you know, one officer. And then moving on to 2023, we hired Burhan Karaman, Kiana Castro, and Desiree Nelson. That was the first batch of officers that we hired. Kiana Castro, she resigned while she was in the police academy. So we retained 2 of those, candidates. Then in June of 2023, we hired Emmanuel Smith, Tom Calabrese, Sean Willoughby, and Christian Aidens. Out of those four, we lost one, which was Tom Calabrese, and he resigned while he was in the police academy. So those were the hires that we did through the resolution. So again, we were still continuing trying to hire police officers. We used this resolution, to go out there. What we did is, we accepted resumes, then we did our thorough backgrounds. They did an interview process, and then we selected, those particular officers. Then we went to our civil service list, because at that time, the civil service list we had previously, we already exhausted that entire list. So we had no eligible candidates on that list because it was in between testing periods. So the results from the civil service came out. We certified that list. Civil service has changed some things over the last year or so on how they do their testing. So if you want to become a police officer, you have to pick which municipality that you want your scores to go to. In previous years, what you were able to do is just pick the county, and your scores would automatically go to the county. So statewide, you saw the number of applicants go from 150, 200 applicants on your civil service list down to 50, 45 applicants. So this year, when we certified our list, we only had 52 applicants on our civil service list. So when we started that hiring process, the letters go out, respond back to us. We only got 26 responses back out of those 52 that they were interested in being a police officer. Again, we started our background process. At that time, we were able to get 4 people into an interview. And out of those 4 people, we were able to give 2 a condition or a final offer of employment. And those 2 are in our police academy. So at this point, that civil service list, we've gone all the way through that civil service list already. And, we were only able to we interviewed 4, and out of those 4, we only got 2. So to be able to have this resolution, it's tremendously helped us to be able to get qualified and great candidates into, our police department. So I kind of broke down the number of officers we hired, their races and their sex. So the totals. Gender, correct. Thank you. So we hired 2 Asian males of Middle Eastern descent. We hired 2 Black females. The one resigned in the police academy. We hired 3 Black males and 1 white male, and he resigned in the police academy. So initially, off of that resolution, we hired 8. We were only able to keep 2 because the other 2 resigned. The civil service, we hired a Hispanic male and a Black male. So we currently have 65 total police officers, and I'm going to break it down into, their gender. So we have a white male. We have 40% of our police officers are white males. White females, 5% of our police officers are white females. Black males, 28% of our officers are Black males. Black females, 6%. Hispanic males, 14%, Hispanic females, 5%, and Asian males. So 44% of our police department are white, and 56% of our police department are minorities. 15% of our police department are females. We have 10 of our police officers are females out of the 65. So if you compare and contrast to our numbers from 2023 versus 2021, so white officers, we were at 45% in 2023. In 2021, we're at 53%. Black officers in 2023, 34%. 2021, 31%. Hispanic officers, 19%, 2023. And in 2021, 16%. Asian officers, 3%. And in 2023 and in 2021, we had 0. So this resolution has allowed us to truly go out to, different events different recruiting events, get our name out there, get our brand out there, and allow us to bring in the best possible candidates that we can hire for our community and have our police department, represent what our community is. I will take any questions.
Yes, thank you, Captain Buck. My question is, how many officers are you looking to where your department is full? Like, is it like a revolving like?
It depends. Yes. So between, resignations, mostly we don't have many resignations, but we have, retirements. We do not lose a lot of police officers due to them going somewhere else. Currently, when we are full staffed, it's 70 police officers fully staffed. That's what our numbers have been traditionally since I've got hired, with 70 officers.
70, and so you're at 65 currently?
That's including all of the officers that are in the police academy, correct? Yes.
Okay, and training. Okay.
Any other questions?
If I recall correctly, this is a resolution that we look at annually, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. That's what we chose to do last year. We originally did it as an ordinance, and then it was, hey, listen, why don't we do this as a resolution? And part of that was, presenting how we used it to make sure that it's being used appropriately as opposed to inappropriately.
Well, thank you, Captain Bucks. As always, I appreciate the statistics and the figures and your work to even diversify our police department to provide the best service for Willingboro residents. So thank you for your work, and I do see the fruits of this resolution, and I'm happy to support it again.
Thank you.
Mr. Harris will put this on the next meeting.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Anything else for new business? I just wanted to, I should have probably put this in unfinished business, but we will be conducting clerk interviews on Friday through Zoom. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. It's on our schedule. And also, I did send out the township clerk and township manager goals and objectives. If everybody can just take a look at it and provide their input this week, I'd appreciate it. So that we can agree on it for our next meeting and give to our clerk and to our township manager. I also want to add that I did get a letter and email that we do have a Wellingboro resident, Shamir Nicole Haskins, has won the 2023 Miss USA. I think that's a big deal. So if council is okay, we can utilize her at events, and she's more than willing to, participate and promote, some positivity, for Willingboro and a good image for Willingboro. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention, and I'll forward, I think you can find it, but I'll forward the link to her achievements and things of that, and her contact information to everyone.
And Mayor, as she is a Willingboro resident, would we be able to prepare a proclamation for her, just acknowledging her accomplishment and present it to her at the next meeting?
Sure. You have something, Councilman? Proclamation. Oh, she. Nat's a proclamation king. All right, and that's all I had for new business. All right, we can move on. Oh, we needed a resolution for the audit, the 2022 audit. You're correcting.
Yes. Yes, so the resolution that was presented to you reads, whereas the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs has instituted a requirement for local units to prepare a corrective action plan as part of the annual audit process in accordance with the Single Unit Audit Act, U.S. Office of Management and Budget Circular A-128 and New Jersey Circular Letter 87-11. And whereas the Chief Financial Officer is responsible to prepare the plan with the assistance from other officials affected by the audit recommendation and approved by the governing body of the local unit. Now therefore be it resolved that the Township Council of the Township of Willingboro hereby approves the corrective action plan based on the recommendations in the 2022 audit report. And then you can give it its proper resolution number as
What's wrong, Ms. Blushing? You have that in front of you?
This is the one through the, certification?
No,
No,
this is
no.
for the corrective
Corrective
action.
Corrective action plan.
Yeah, the certification was done in the consent agenda.
That was 2023
This is new business.
217.
Yeah. Here we go.
So would that be 2023 219? Oh, 214. 214 was a duplicate.
Right.
Hmm.
Resolution approving a corrective action plan based on recommendation in the 2022 audit report. I need a motion.
Before you do, Ms. Blodgett, instead of 214, can that be the duplicate 219? Because you didn't certify the audit until 217. And it would be inappropriate to have the corrective action plan before you certify the audit.
Resolution 2023-219, resolution approving a corrective action plan based on recommendation in the 2022 audit report. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Worthy, seconded by Councilman Anderson. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, thank you. Now we come to public comment. Public comment is now open. You have 4 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record. Public comment is now open. Like Mr. Brown on my.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor and Council, Mr. Harris.
I'm here too.
Oh, sorry. That's why I don't like to
Well, okay,
identify.
go ahead, I'm
everyone.
like-
It makes it difficult. Okay, my time is started, so
Okay,
stop.
go ahead.
I had brought up last meeting that I had a question about the bulk. Oh, I'm sorry. Tony Mathis, 26 Medford Lane. I brought up last meeting to Mr. Harris about my concern about bulk pickup, and he was going to look at other townships to see if there was a better way to streamline how we do our pickup. And I didn't want to go into too much detail about that again, but my concern was that it's complicated, whereas you only have once a month to put out your bulk, and you also have to either do it through an application to let what Waste Management know, or I guess you could call also, but it's only once a month. And I think it's 2 items that you can only put out. So it makes it a little bit more complicated. So you're finding that a lot of people are just leaving their bulk sitting out, and then they're usually, there's a violation that comes with that because they just leave it out there on days that they're not supposed to. My second comment, Halloween, trunk or treat. And I started following Facebook, and I noticed that there were people that were commenting on, why does Willingboro not have trick-or-treaters come into their homes anymore? I've only lived here for about 20-something years, and I've noticed that there's not really trick-or-treaters. And so we use trunk or treat, and I wasn't sure if the reason why we stopped having kids come to the homes is because of a safety issue. And some of this conversation that was going on with Facebook was stating that, well, is it because Willingboro is an unsafe community versus some of the other townships? And I beg to differ that that's the reason, but I'm just not sure why. So I'm just bringing that out to the township, the council, as to what's the reason why? Can we start some of that same old tradition that we grew up with? That was not a bad idea. That's my other question was, about to Officer Buck. what is the ceiling on how many police officers we can have in Willingboro? I heard you say that the largest amount of police officers that we had was 70. I'm not sure if we need more. Could it be 100? I do also would like to see more officers representing the community that we live in. That's a definite. I'm not sure about the part that once you eliminate civil service, does that change the pay scale? So that's another question that I have too, if that makes a difference. What was my other issue? Oh, gosh. I think I'll stop there because sometimes I ask too many questions and then we don't get to them all. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you, Ms. Mathis. Anyone else in the audience for a public comment? Okay, host, I did see someone's hand.
Yes, Brown.
And wait a minute, come on, Mr. Johnson. Go ahead.
I've got a big mouth, so I'm up here to say how happy I am to have John Carroll back in an official position. I've been a long time, if not an original member of Sir Gary Johnson, 54 Gramercy Lane, and a proud member of CERT, CART, MRC, all these organizations that John led into Relay. And one example I have to bring up because it made me so proud was the night of we did a sheltering for Burlington City because it rained that night, not that it bothered Willingboro. So I was getting ready to turn into bed. In fact, I was just about to lay down when the phone rang. It was John. All he said was, "Gary, I need you." And I said, "Where, when?" And I was there. We met at the EOC. There were people there already calling to get other members there. Others of us started setting up cots. And we had a shelter set up in time for them when the people from Burlington City arrived. After we got them settled in, we met in the main room and split into teams and maintained shelter for them for several days until better facilities came up. John has been a tremendous leader, and I am really pleased to have him back in the organization and to be a member of his organization. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. All right, host, we can start taking people from the Zoom.
Great, Ms. Brown.
Yes, good evening, everybody. There's a lot to go forward. I'm living at 78 Executive Lane. About the emergency center, I'm glad that we have the facility, but I'm also wanting to know, do we have other areas that have the emergency center? And also because the Kennedy Center is a menu where we usually get revenue from. Is there a way that we can reach out to the community and work with the schools that's closed up? That we can reopen the schools to have an emergency center for that facility? And moving on again about the new development. Thank you for the new development at Peter Packering. I wanted to ask you about the new development, to be specific of what is it going to be? Restaurant? Is going to be stores? And I also heard about liquor store. Is that true? And I really need to think about the liquor store because liquor store can make other people sick as well. So I wanted to put that out there as well. Also, I wanted to thank the police department, the fire department, and the EMS as well. And I also wanted to know, we used to have reports every month for the calls from the police department and the EMS, if that can go forward again as well. And also I have a concern on August 25th at 6:55 p.m. A police officer knocked on my door stating that I had an iPhone 14 on my premises, which I did not. And also, he also asked me for my identification as well, and which that was obscene as well. If he was doing his job, he wouldn't have knocked on my door. I need to know the protocols for that. Thank Mr. Harris, and I thank the board, the council members for all their hard work and what they've been doing for us and all the activity they had provided for us, especially the Willingboro app. I'm concerned. I had two questions to ask that I had asked before by email as well. One of the questions already answered. One of my questions about the Burlington County Recreation Fund of $1.6 million. In that fund, it states that money can use for the school district. Other township has used that money for the school district. And I want to go forward and find out how often we get that recreation fund and why we can't reach out to the community that is in need, like the school or the library, and help with that. Because one of the budget on the school budget, $7 million they use for recreation, that's been burdening the residents. And also y'all had spoken about the free pool, the grant that you have for the free pool. When the grant is up, who's gonna cover that as well? And how do you modify who is the resident of Willenburg kids going into the pool? How are you gonna clarify that? How is that gonna be worked out? And also moving forward, I'm very concerned. We don't want wealthy people to come buy up our properties because you keep raising the taxes. I'm concerned about that. If any advice come up about raising taxes, we really need to reconsider that as well moving forward. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Brown.
Okay, Beulah Williams.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council, Manager, and everyone. Good evening. This is Beulah Williams, 8 Botany Circle. I want to thank our police department. I think they're second to none. They're supportive. We have a lot of community outreach events, and they're there always supporting. About a month ago, we had an End It Now violence workshop. And Officer Parker, I'm lousy at names, please forgive me. He was on vacation and he drove an hour and 15 minutes from his vacation to be a panelist on our workshop. That's the kind of quality officers that we have. So I really appreciate our officers. I appreciate our EMS, our fire department. Our church, the Willenburg Seventh-day Adventist Churches, hosted our 5th annual health fair. And again, we had our fire department there, we had police department, we have the EMS being supportive and helpful. And also I want to let Councilwoman Dr. Worthy and her husband, Pastor Dr. Worthy, how we appreciate them supporting our health fair. And we appreciate the different presenters, Virtual Hospital, Deborah canceled because of the weather, but we prayed and the weather turned out well and we had a wonderful time. So many sponsors. I wanted to give a shout out to them. South Jersey Family Medical, Virtual, the Health Department, Rita's Water Ice, State Public Department, Burlington Health Department, the Food Bank of South Jersey, Cooper, and so much more. And we were just pleased that we were able to serve the community with love and compassion, which is our motto. And I just appreciate my community, my Willingboro community. We have a caring bunch of people here serving the community with love and compassion as well. Our mayor, our deputy mayor, our council, man and woman, our manager who is doing an awesome job, our deputy manager, and just keep on doing the great work that you're doing. A few weeks ago, you hosted the backpack giveaway, and you're doing an awesome job. I'm rambling, but I appreciate all of you, and God bless you as you continue to work for our great community of Willingboro. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Williams.
You're welcome, Mayor.
All right, Tarina Williams.
Thank you. Good evening. Mayor McIntosh, Deputy Mayor Whitfield, council members, Mr. Harris, Ms. Blygen, and council, and of course, my community, Tarina Williams, 8 Botany Circle. I join in with my mom when expressing how grateful I am to God for our community. I constantly say I have 3 families, my own family, my church family, and my township family who we love each other, and it's greatly appreciated. Watching the news, you look at so many things happening that just really break your heart, and it just makes you appreciate me appreciate, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, appreciate my own community, that in addition to watching, protecting, as you go out, EMS, fire department, and police department, you take the time to have these wonderful outreach events to inspire the young people and make them appreciate how wonderful and rewarding it is to serve. Thank you so much for the creators of Willingboro. What is it called? Community Connect. I'm sorry. I love this app that it was designed, and it really keeps you abreast and up to date with what's going on. Thank you to the communication department, Ms. Jackson. Thank you, Township Manager Harris. Thank you, Ms. Blygen. I send you a flyer and you spread the word with different events that we have. We want as many people to benefit from the events that our church helps to host. My birthday is next week, and I just want to say thank you, everyone, for the love and compassion, the dedicated service that you do that keeps a smile on my face. And I just greatly appreciate everything that everyone does. We're a body of many parts where everyone does something to contribute to the health and wellness that we have. So it's just, I just want to say thank you. Our health fair, I'm still on a happy high from the weather, how it turned out, and the EMS and the fire department that came out. The children love whenever the fire department comes out and they get to take a ride or get a tour of the fire truck. So thank you so much for the joy that you put on everyone's faces. The Virtual Health with their wonderful massages, the Food Bank of South Jersey that provides for so many different people in our community and the township and the county and so many other places in New Jersey. I mean, we are richly blessed from so many different people and the great work that our local organizations and township, county organization does. And I'm just so grateful. And Parks and Recreation Department, I mean, what I wouldn't give to be a kid again, because constantly have these different events that keep the children to know that it's much better to stay out of trouble than in trouble, because it's great. So keep the good work too. And if I'm forgetting anyone, I'm sorry, but God richly bless everyone individually and collectively. And thanks again, Councilwoman Dr. Tiffany Worthy, for coming out to our event. Really appreciate that. If one member of the council can come, if all of you cannot come out, at least one person comes out to as many events in the community. May God richly bless you as you work together to serve the community with love and compassion. Thank you for your time. Have a blessed night.
You also, thank you.
Thank you.
Host, is there anyone else on the Zoom?
Yeah, Shirley Dilworth.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Shirley Dilworth, Newport Lane. Okay. I just have a few issues of concern. First of all, I just want to thank the council and Mr. Harris for that ongoing Clean Communities campaign that we are engaged in. I'm very pleased to see that it is taken, new direction. I think it is a wonderful idea to to invite the entire community out to get involved with the clean communities. My prayer is that it will inspire and encourage all of us to know that we all play a part in helping to keep our community clean. Okay, not just the people, okay, who are paid to clean the community, but all of us. Secondly, about a couple of weeks ago, I saw the street sweeper as I was leaving the park on Northampton Drive. But when I returned home, I realized that the street sweeper did not come on my street. I don't know what was up with that, but I'm looking forward to the street sweeper, coming around again, because it also helps to keep our community looking good. I was very happy to hear an update on the economic development that is coming to the community. This is something that is long overdue and something that we've been looking forward to. I've been thinking and wondering about that new restaurant that was planning to come to the town center during the summer, during the month of August. The other thing that I'm concerned about is our code enforcement officers. As I move throughout the community, and especially throughout my neighborhood, I see cars that are parked on the sidewalk, on the grass. I see boats in the driveway. And I was wondering, is it feasible for code enforcement officers to do a regular periodic check of each street, okay, to ameliorate developing problems? If these streets are checked on a regular basis, I think some of the problems that I see developing may be able to be mitigated. Okay? It's very difficult as a neighbor to say something to people in your neighborhood, about what they are storing on their front porch, or where their trash containers or recycling containers are stored. But if code enforcement officers are doing this, they have the authority, to do this, and to also to issue a summons or issue some kind of violation. My concern is that this problem may continue to get worse. And lastly, I'm inviting the entire council, the manager, and the entire community of Willingboro to celebrate Women's Day with Parkway Baptist Church on October the 15th, 2023 at 3 p.m. Some of our local leaders will be featured at this event. I hope you will be able to join us there. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Dilworth. Host, is there anyone else on Zoom for public comment?
I believe that's all, Mayor.
Thank you. Public comment is now closed. Public comment is now closed.
I'm sorry, I do see a dial-in call-in listener.
Ms. Mack. Ms. Mack, if you're speaking.
Good evening, Jacqueline Mack, 70 Maplewood Lane.
Go ahead.
Good evening, Jacqueline Mack, 70 Maplewood Lane. I'm sorry I'm a little late here getting in, but I don't know, my phone wasn't working right, or I wasn't working, one of the two. At any rate, I'd like to say thank you. It was very good to hear John Carroll again. He has done a wonderful job with the emergency management group here in our town, and he is just such a nice person. If he ever comes to give you a presentation, you can always expect that he will be full of good information. And John, welcome back. Also, and I know I shouldn't really say welcome back because you've been here forever along with me. Anyhow, secondly, I'd like to say thank you. I was very happy to hear that Moss Hill Lane will be first on the repair of the pothole soon, I hope, because they won't survive the winter if they can't get there, up and down their street. So thanks very much, and thank you to the rest of the council for all that you do. Good night.
Night, Ms. Mack. Thank you. Public comment is now closed. All right, Mr. Harris. Start with Ms. Mathis. Ms. Mathis did inquire about bulk pickup at the last meeting. Did we have any updates for that?
I have had discussions with DPW regarding bulk pickup, and we do have our processes in the community regarding bulk pickup. And residents do have the opportunity to bring additional items down to the yard. However, I don't really have an overall change to the bulk pickup process to outline. That's just something that we're just going to need to continue to evaluate and monitor. At some point, policies and procedures need to be put into place by this council. And, the residents are just going to understand that they're there for a purpose. And I wish we could be everything to everybody all the time, but there are restrictions by which the municipality needs to operate and function. And, our bulk processes is one of those. Those were the policies that were put into place for reasons before I got here. And there is just no clear mechanism to just shift them without, taking everything into consideration. There are dump fees and tipping fees and DPW fees and employees and trucks and all those things that go into this mix. So, if the bulk process isn't really working, then we have an obligation to make it work. But just because residents aren't being compliant doesn't mean that it's a failure. So, those are the things that we may need to look at. She did talk about the.
I'll stay on bulk pickup for a second.
Okay.
And I think that we can just add that to our conversation
Okay.
in totality for the trash. Because we do get a lot of complaints. And again, you're right. I agree with what you're saying. I think we just need to revisit it, make sure it's adequate. Or we're going to stick to our guns, or if we're going to stick to our guns, with where we're at. So I think that's just part of the conversation. So Ms. Mathis, it's an ongoing conversation, for council, between council and administration. So I don't want you to think it's falling on deaf ears. It's just not going to be maybe in 2 weeks. It's a longer and broader conversation. Then do you have Halloween next, Mr. Harris?
Yeah, so trunk or treat, believe it or not, is actually a trend that is not just exclusive to Willingboro. That is happening across the country, really.
Right.
How trick or treating has become an unsafe activity. I don't think there's been a ban on trick or treating in Willingboro as far as I am aware of. But that has been something that nationally people are doing just less. Municipalities came up with an alternative, especially when COVID came in, as an alternative to going door to door trick or treating, to have it in one place called Trunk or Treat. So that is the birth of Trunk or Treat, and kind of the trend nationally going across in municipalities, not only exclusive to Willingboro. So there is no ban in Willingboro against trick or treating. It's just a safe alternative for our residents.
And I think I just want to add that recreation does a great job for the trunk or treat. So that is an alternative. But as Mr. Harris said, there's nothing prohibiting residents from invigorating their street. When I was in North Carolina, all the residents used to come down to the end of the driveway and the kids just go up the street. And that if there were safety concerns, but everybody was out watching everybody. So I do think, I did see a lot of those comments on social media. But I think, I don't think that's a government function, because the ordinance is not, our ordinance is not prohibiting. I think we do have a curfew, maybe 10 o'clock on those days. 9 on Halloween? 9? Heck, I was out at 10. Okay. But I mean, a lot of residents have said they've bought candy, but the kids don't come around. So, I mean, people have had their lights on. So I think it would be nice if residents, among the neighbors, get together among themselves and make it happen for their street. Then we had, Ms. Mathis also had a question about the maximum number of police that we could have. And if there a change in pay scale for civil service?
So I'll answer the first one, the civil service one was, so what happens is it's the opt out of the examination is just another way to hire. Once they complete the academy, then they go into those civil services positions. So and then they're protected by all civil service rules. And then they follow whatever current contract they are that they're in. So they would follow the FOP contract for police officers. The second one was the number of officers. I was just in discussions with the township manager the other day. So while I'm using our analyst, we're compiling a lot of data, a lot of information to see, with the number of call volumes, the call volume we had, the number of residents, whether 70 is the appropriate number or if it's more or less. So that's something that we're in the works of doing right now.
Thank you, Captain Bucks. Mr. Johnson was giving his kudos to Mr. Carroll. Thank you, Mr. Johnson, for your input. Mrs. Brown, she did have some questions about the Kennedy Center being used for, what we're talking about for emergency use. Have we looked at or talked to the school board or anybody to see if maybe there's an opportunity to utilize any of their open buildings, which has a lot of space, and we utilize it for our Fountain of Life neighbors?
Did have discussions with them in the past.
Okay.
Previous administration desire that we would stick with the Kennedy Center because we had full and complete control of it rather than being dependent upon school board.
You have. Okay, so then, okay. Okay, so I think we probably should explore that. We do have a new board. And I think, what they did for Fountain of Life was phenomenal, and it wasn't disruptive to, our things that we're doing in the township.
Very convenient because these shelter operations are not the best set of circumstances.
Right.
Don't have to, that's the people come out, they're under stress.
Right.
In a tight relationship with another person on cot, where you'll have usually 100 square feet per person. People aren't used to that. It's crazy. People have a tendency to want to go out to say that they're going to go for medications and they go out to other places and come back in a little bit different condition than when they left. So they are not, it's not the best set of circumstances, but we realize we have to take care of them.
Right. Okay. That's a good file. I mean, I think that was a good point someone brought up, just to look at, consider the schools. And again, we have a new, I know there was previous administration, but there's new administration that seem a little, open to working with the township. Mrs. Brown also brought up the economic development on Route 130. Again, that was just a presentation of what could be. And there was no talk of a liquor store. We're looking for retail opportunities in that location of Pennypacker and Route 130. I think what Mr. Weiss said was that there was B Uno's would be interested in a liquor license, for a restaurant. They have one in, okay. Right. So it was no liquor store, conversation. And I think that was her question concerning that area. Okay. Mr. Harris, she was concerned also about, I think you were doing police, EMS, public safety calls and updates, the number of calls in your reports at one time.
And I haven't stopped doing them. I just didn't make any of
For
those
this one.
reports this evening.
Okay.
But I'm also looking to have that, those reports posted, for public access on our website.
All right. So public access, when, at monthly?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's nothing in there that's confidential or it's informational.
Okay.
And Mayor, just one more point on that. For Ms. Brown, also our local neighborhood watch also gives detailed reports on police and other emergencies that happen to keep residents abreast of what's going on in the community in more detail. Captain Bucks, do you have the dates of the neighborhood watch meetings? Third Thursday, and they typically meet at the Reva Foster Senior Center at 6:30 or 7 p.m. 7 p.m. So we encourage you to join those meetings, to go over and see those meetings as they do give detailed reports there as well. The next one is this Thursday.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Also, Detective, oh my gosh, Captain Bucks, if you could call you for the police incident that she's talking about, just Ms. Brown, please just contact Captain Bucks just to discuss that incident. Mr. Harris, the Burlington County Recreation Fund. I know there's questions surrounding that on the use of it. And if, I know we have discussed this previously, but just clarification on the use of that.
So I'm not familiar specifically with the Burlington County Recreation Fund. However, just by its title, I would presume that those are Burlington County monies. And, we can try to tap into them as some type of grant but I would have to do a little more research on that particular fund, because I'm not familiar with county just doling out monies to schools, but maybe, I don't know, I have to do a little more investigation.
Okay, and Mrs. Brown, the free pool ID, Councilman Perone, did bring that up a couple of times. So, again, we are looking into that and seeing where we net out in terms of costs. We're doing a cost analysis, and feasibility on, our students that go to Willingboro Public Schools.
Mhm.
Residents, and allowing them to attend the pools for free. I'm not sure what mechanism we could use to make sure, probably a school ID, in conjunction with the badge, is a possibility, but we're still looking into that, and we're still looking into that feasibility. Anything else for Mrs. Brown? Okay. And Ms. Williams, just want to give kudos to our public safety team, the police officers, fire, EMS. Just wanted to say thank you. And I don't want to say on behalf of council, I'll say for myself, I do appreciate the Seventh-day Adventists for consistently pouring into this community, pouring into the spirit, praying for this community consistently. So I'll venture to say on behalf of the council that we do appreciate that. And it is important, and it's a great opportunity to make this town better and make it what it needs to be. So I do want to just say I really appreciate that. And Tarina Williams, I just want to give a special shout out for your birthday this week. But thank you always for your kind words and your positive outlook and love of this town. Again, it's felt and appreciated. Ms. Dilworth, gave kudos for the clean communities. I just want to shout out Kevin Gaines for really doing a lot with that and making that come a dream that we, the council has had, making it come to fruition. I think you're doing a great job with it, and we appreciate you for that. And Mr. Harris, that sweet street sweeper needs to go down Newport Lane.
So before we get into that, I want to give kudos to our inspections
I'm
department
sorry.
because although other residents may not see it, they are very instrumental
Mhm.
in keeping
Yeah, I
Willingboro
agree.
clean, especially our commercial properties as well. The street sweeper, yes. So we do the very best that we can to sweep all of our 480 miles of streets here in Willingboro. You are not going to see the street sweeper come down any street once a month, every other month. We try to get around at least quarterly. I am happy to say that we do have a second street sweeper that has been sitting in the garage, but thanks to our Public Works, acting Public Works Director and our garage supervisor, that street sweeper is now out for repair. And thanks to the council for putting money into our budget to get it repaired.
Mhm.
And hopefully, in a few weeks, we'll have 2 street sweepers on the street, and we'll make sure one of them goes down Mrs. Dilbert Street, just because it's important. Yes.
It's important.
It is absolutely important that all of our residents really see what's happening in Willingboro and the money they're investing into this community. They're benefiting on a daily or a regular basis. Absolutely.
You have any update on 1911?
Smokehouse 1911 has already begun to hang some of their signage on the building, and I do believe that they are looking to open.
Hopefully sometime next month. They're building out their bar now. They just went through the permitting process with the inspection department. They're still going through that. But yeah, signs are up. The bar's being built, TVs are being hanged, bathrooms being remodeled. I stopped over there last Monday, and there's progress happening.
Good. Thank you.
Yes, and she did mention code enforcements. Our code enforcements are out doing their inspections and looking about the different situations in our community. I do share those reports pretty regularly. On my last report, I did mention that code enforcement had done 623 inspections in this community. They issued 8 summonses and 284 violations, different things in the community. What the residents, I would hope understand is that when code enforcement issues a violation, there is a period of time where the violators are permitted to remediate whatever that violation was. And then if it is not done, then it goes to the next level. So don't presume just because there is a violation that you see that it hasn't been seen and it is not in the process of being remediated, because our code enforcement officers and our police officers are very diligent, have become very diligent about enforcing these violations. So, but again, use the app. When you see something, report it, and they will get back to you in regards to that.
Thank you. And then I also want to just repeat, Ms. Dilworth invited the community to the Women's Day on October 15th at 3 p.m. at Parkway Baptist Church. So if you're available, I think that's sounds like a good event, supporting women in leadership in around our community. And Miss Jackie Mack, another kudos to Mr. Carroll. And, just kudos to the whole township and administration for what they're doing and keeping this township beautiful and thriving. So I second that appreciation. Did I miss anything from public comments?
I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to council comments. Does any council have any closing remarks tonight? Councilman Anderson?
Just want to thank everyone for coming out. Had the opportunity this week to myself, Dr. Worthy, Mr. Harris, Mr. Lowry, Mr. Lowry. We had the opportunity to attend the grand opening of a new restaurant in Country Club Plaza called Ignite Jamaican. So we went out there, showed our support. The food was actually pretty decent. Yeah. So if you get an opportunity, okay. See, okay. But if you get an opportunity, once again, support the businesses in town. The mayor already mentioned it, but I want to give Ms. Tarina Williams a happy birthday shout out for your upcoming birthday. Thank you for all that you and your mom do for the community through Seventh-day Adventist Church. Mr. John Carroll, thank you for your 30+ years of service, not 3. He forgot the 0. Don't worry about it. It was okay. Captain Bucks, thank you for doing such a great job. When it comes to presentations, you have such detailed reports, which is greatly appreciated by the council. And also ATAP, All Things As Possible, is advertising for community awards. So if you know anyone in the community who is deserving of the work that they do, please visit the ATAP website and nominate someone. And Gary, don't nominate yourself. Don't nominate yourself. All right. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Councilman Anderson.
Good evening, Willingboro. Just want to say thank you for coming out this evening. It's a lot of wonderful things happening across our community. I'm excited about the students being back in school and Dr. Outlaw's emphasis on One Willingboro. He has extended invitations to the council for different events, for their convocation, for their strategic planning sessions, and looking forward to continuing to work with our school district, our MUA, and our administration for us to be stronger as One Willingboro. And it's just an exciting time to be in Willingboro, as many of the things that we've been working on as a body for several years, we're now seeing more progress in different areas. It's exciting talking to residents. They still continue to share areas where we need to do better and will do better. But the conversations are growing and evolving and becoming more nuanced. And I attribute it to working together collectively with the body and with the administration to be able to continue to move Willingboro forward. So thank you for coming out and thank you for continuing to hold us accountable so we can work together to create the Willingboro we all want to see. Thank you.
All right. I just wanted to say, once again, congratulations to Ms. Shamir Haskins on winning the 2023 Miss USA competition. It is a great feat, and we are happy to have you as a resident and a shining star of the talent and grace that we have living here in Willingboro. Also, just a general reminder to the community, today is National Voter Registration Day. So if you are not registered to vote or are coming of age to register to vote, I encourage you to go to vote.org and register to vote. It is our civic duty to participate in our democratic process, and we need you involved. So thank you, everyone, for coming out, and have a great night.
Thank you. Okay. I just want to close and say thank you for coming out and get home safely. Good night. And we have to do adjournment. No. Nope.
You gotta.
I need a motion for adjournment, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays?
They're not here. No nays.
It is 9:49. We are adjourned.
Thank you.